Welcome to BNOW, where we discuss what is happening in and around Brampton. My name is Don McLeod. Today we're going to talk about accountability and transparency. These two words you're going to hear a lot, especially in the upcoming elections. We have the municipal and the provincial elections. And accountability and transparency are thrown out as two words of all politicians of all stripes, right? We're going to be accountable and we're going to be transparent at every level of government. Well, our last Integrity Commissioner, she was fired recently, let go or canceled, termination contract, whatever you want to call it. She filed with the Ontario Court of Justice 2 weeks ago, legal proceedings against the city of Brampton, and specifically citing two bylaws as illegal. The bylaws were changing the two-thirds majority vote or two-thirds vote to a majority vote. And then the other bylaw was actually letting her go. So she already put those out. It's in court, but there's a whole bunch of information on that document that is basically, it's not good for accountability and transparency for the city of Brampton, and including the Bloc, which she paraphrases the Bloc as 6 councillors. 6 councillors led by Martin Medeiros, Pat Fortini, Jeff Bowman, Charmaine Williams, Gurpreet Dillon, and Doug Willans. Those are the 6 councillors she claims is the Bloc. In that, they passed 2 illegal motions. He claims that those 2 motions were illegal. 3 of the 6 councillors that formed the Bloc had investigation complaints against them. There was no public input or debate on those 2 bylaws and changes to the bylaws from the two-thirds majority vote or two-thirds vote into the majority vote. And there was no public input on that specifically. It was an improper called meeting on March the 12th to actually talk about those, the changing of the vote and letting go the Integrity Commissioner complaint. And there was some in-camera discussions that should have been public. So there's a lot of allegations in it. It's a 20-page document. She was fired, according to Martin, because of her billing practices. They weren't happy with what she was billing. Martin said specifically that her billing was out of line, but gave no examples in regards to that billing. This is not the first time Martin hasn't given any examples. If you recall, a month and a half ago, we talked to Martin and Pat Fortini about a letter that they wrote, and they said that basically democracy was under siege at City Hall under Patrick Brown, and he was taking a blowtorch to the democratic process. When asked about that and give me examples of how that was, the whole blowtorch situation was happening, Martin said it was an in-camera, he couldn't discuss it, so there was no examples then. So it seems that there's a lot of allegations, but no examples brought up. In that letter, basically the 6 councillors stated a lot of things, but directly after that, the CAO was fired. And it's funny because Muneeza Sheikh, who was the Integrity Commissioner complaint and launched this, she's a partner at Sheikh LLP. She should know exactly what is going on in regards to, she was the Integrity Commissioner complaint that looked over integrity commissioners and the lobby registry at City Hall as well. She names a whole bunch of different things. You go to read the entire article at BramptonFocus.ca. The original document is on the Ontario Court if you want to see it. In that, she cites several Bloc members. One, Gurpreet Dillon, who was investigated by Integrity Commissioner complaint and was found guilty of sexual harassment. In her announcement or in her decision, Muneeza said that basically if it was up to her, Gurpreet Dillon would lose his seat, but it wasn't. Under the Municipal Act, the severest penalty is 90 days without pay. He took her to court and lost in Ontario court and had to pay her court costs. In the proceedings that she cites, she said basically that Gurpreet Dillon wanted her removed and was actively trying to get her removed so he could vindicate his reputation. How he's going to do that, I don't know, because when you get a new Integrity Commissioner complaint, what's he going to do? Reopen the case? I don't know. Charmaine Williams had 4 or 5 code of conduct violations ruled on her by that same Integrity Commissioner complaint. And as I said before, Martin Medeiros, Pat Fortini, and Jeff Bowman all had Integrity Commissioner complaints against her when they fired her. Now, one of the things she said is very interesting. It's basically they wanted her removed before the completion of her Integrity Commissioner complaints and before the next election, so that these results would not be public. It's a pretty dynamic and it's a pretty intense statement from an Integrity Commissioner saying that there's 6 councillors, a block of 6 councillors, that are basically hijacking and getting rid of people. And she goes on to say that there's certain staff. It's a planned group effort to get rid of certain senior staff that they don't like. The first one was the CAO, and then obviously they got rid of her. Soon after, the director of communications was fired, human resources was fired, and just recently the director of planning left the city, right? He wasn't fired, but he left. She also says that integrity commissioners are there to serve a purpose, to make sure that the councillors are along the straight and narrow path. Without an integrity commissioner, obviously it serves the interests of the councillors, not the public, which is a big, big problem. If this is true and the allegations are true, what she talks about here, it's a big problem because you have 6 councillors that thinks they are above the law. They can change it whenever they want. And especially in regards to the 2/3 vote now to a majority vote, because when that goes through, all it is now it's the councillors can do what they want. A 2/3 majority vote is a serious situation because it has to be. It has to be most of the councillors talking about it. Majority vote is now 6-5. That's it, right? It is a situation that we will be monitoring. I haven't seen any other people pick it up, but this is a situation that we think is serious. It's serious when you have 6 councillors that think they're above the law and they can change it, and they can bully the rest of the councillors into submission and change and fire an integrity commissioner that is supposed to oversee the entire process, not only of the integrity commissioner and any complaints against those councillors, but as I said, the lobby register at the same time. So we're talking about, they talk about taking a blowtorch of democracy. Yeah, this is more like an atomic bomb, right? So if you want to, like I said, you want to read the article, go to BramptonFocus.ca. It's all out there. There's, like I said, the allegations that she levels against Medeiros and Bowman, Fortini, Dillon. To me, that is a major problem. But go there, check it out. We will be following it going forward. Right now, I'm going to be joined by Fazelle Khan. Fazelle, how you doing? You can talk. Okay, maybe put your mic on.
There you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah. There's a mute button, on that thing, right?
Thanks,
So,
Don.
Karen, I think we need a fresh start with a whole new council. Well, there's some councillors basically that are not part of the Bloc 6. So I would start with, supporting the other 5 and then go from there. But to me, there's a big problem in that regard.
Thanks for the suggestion, Karen.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about, a big thing coming out of the States, Roe versus Wade. For those that don't know what Roe versus Wade is, a big Supreme Court decision basically 50 years ago, giving the women the right to abortion, the right to control their own bodies. It's a huge situation. And some of the Supreme Court justices that were appointed by Donald Trump, apparently a leaked document came out saying that he wanted to overturn Roe versus Wade. Which is that is huge. There's a lot of people up in arms in the United States. There's a lot of women. A lot of I heard today Evan Solomon talking on 1010 to one of the attorneys who actually defended with Roe and talking about the situation. One of her big things was a lot of women don't antagonize, organize. So that's going to be playing out. The Conservative Party came out apparently and said that they were telling none of their members to talk about the situation or give any kind of comment whatsoever. So for a party that wants freedom and free speech, it's telling all its caucus members, shut up, don't say a word, right? Which is kind of ironic at the same time. A couple hours later, Michelle Gardner came out with a statement, Candace Bergen came out with a statement, who is leading the Conservative Party, or in the House of Commons, stated, a whole big preamble. I'm sure you can see it on Twitter or whatever, but it's funny that only her came out with a statement and no other Conservative MP. Patrick Brown did come out very early. He came out with a statement early this morning. In it, he said that basically a Conservative Party led by me will not change Canada's abortion laws, period. As far as I know, he was the first one to come out. There's several others that came out, but Pierre Poilievre has not come out with a statement in regards to this as well. He also goes on to say, I will support the rights of a woman's decision on her reproductive health, full stop. So good for Patrick Brown coming out and saying that very early. Faz, what do you think?
Phew, that was a mouthful, Don.
Yeah, I know.
It's time to end the show. You know what? As I think everybody knows, I'm a big supporter of Patrick Brown. So I'm glad he came out with that statement, because I don't think he's come out with too many platform statements. I think he's focused on the membership drive that he's involved with for June 3rd. But I'm glad he came out with that statement, because I think a lot of people have a view of what the Conservative Party is, and he's really trying to change that view, because there's a lot of people in that party who I think they're more fiscal conservatives, but they're not extreme in any other way, right? So I'm glad he came out with that statement, and I would have preferred if he came out with a video statement, because that would have gone further. I think if you don't come out with a statement today, you're going to be in trouble when it comes to the debates and stuff that are going to be happening.
Well, I think it's important. I mean, it's a slippery slope, because where does it stop, right? As soon as they do that, if the Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade, what's next? I mean, we're talking about, contraception. Are you talking about?
Well, I think this is the big one in the U.S. though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was kind of a bait and switch with a lot of the conservative justices, because I think they were all questioned during their, the process that they go through. And I don't think any of them said, that's something I'm going to look at. In fact, they said the opposite. It's like, it's.
Well, actually, during some of the hearings on those Supreme Court justices, they did come out and they were basically in favor of anti-abortion. Bringing it closer to home, people say, well, this is the United States problem. Well, Sam Osterhoff, one of the Doug Ford's young MPPs, he gave a speech, at the very beginning when he was coming out, talking about, yeah, we're going to, it's been 50 years, we want to overturn this, and we want to make Ontario illegal for abortions, right? So, I mean, it's already come out. I mean, Doug Ford, did he say anything today? Absolutely not. As the leader of the Party of Ontario, Conservative Party, and leader, you have to come out. These are major decisions that affect hundreds of millions.
But this is the challenge for the Conservative brand in general, right? You have very few outspoken people who, to me, there's extremism, and then there's let's just allow people to live their life. And, we're talking about freedom, right? A lot of the conservative, like Pierre will talk about freedom, but when it comes to women's rights, no, the men have to dictate what you're look at us, right? Two men talking about this. This is a women's issue, and I think women should be making their own decisions, right, in consultation with who they want to.
Well, absolutely. And then if you take a look, I mean, don't forget, you do have some women that basically, are anti-abortion as well. So you do have both sides of the coin. But at the same time, I mean, if candidate, because you're going to have, the writ is already dropped in the provincial election, you're going to have candidates coming to your door. You should ask them on this. If I was a woman, I would be asking them, are you pro or, against?
Well, but you know what? At the door, they can say whatever they want, right? Because they're not on the record. I'd rather them go on the record to say, what their values and beliefs are.
Well, I mean, give me a straight up. I mean, I know there's some candidates out there that are basically anti-abortion that are running in Brampton. So I know that, right? Who they are, well, they're going to find out pretty soon. But
anyways, I think in Canada, we're okay. I don't think anybody's going to, if you run on that kind of a platform, you're not going anywhere. You're not getting elected.
well, Sam Osterhoff is one. Let's see if he gets reelected in his current riding, because he came basically out saying that he supports, right, the anti-abortion. So that was straight up, straight out. So let's see what happens. It's funny that they talk about the conservatives, especially Pierre Poilievre, talking about the gatekeepers, and then in the meantime, in the House of Commons, they say, don't comment on anything. No MP can comment on this issue, and they have one person. Who's the gatekeeper there? I mean, that is gatekeeping. That's the definition of being a gatekeeper.
Freedom.
Freedom. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But you know what? On these major issues, whether it happens in the United States or Canada, if you're a leader, you have to actually make a stand on this. And if you're not willing to make a stand, be like Doug Ford, head to the cottage and hide for several weeks. You know what I mean? Like every time there's a tough decision, he runs to the cottage and does snowmobiling.
I don't know. Did the other two leaders, the Prime Minister and Jagmeet Singh?
Yeah, they came out with statements, obviously, against it. Another part of Patrick Brown's statement was basically, he said the Justin Jagmeet coalition will exploit the Roe versus Wade decision to use against the Conservatives. Well, they're going to bring that up. They're going to bring that up. But at the same time, if you're a candidate, just come out and say, you know what, like Patrick did, saying we're not going to touch that. Right? It's insane. That boat has sailed a long time ago. Right? I mean,
well, it'll be interesting. I think there's a conservative debate sometime in May. So that it'll be interesting because in the last couple of weeks, a number of issues have kind of risen to the top where now you have to talk about it. I think in past debates, there was no need to talk about it necessarily, but now because of what's happened in the U.S., I think it has to be a question during the debate. What is your views on female reproductive rights?
Yeah, I mean, that's if I was holding the debate on that regard, I mean, that would have been a question coming up because, it seems to be, it's funny. In North America, you have this, the freedom convoys and all these people talking about freedom and blah, 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 as if they're not free right now, right? Go to another country, in a third world country, and see how free you are to actually demonstrate, to talk about stuff, to actually question your leaders and ask for answers and send them emails and all this other. See how easy that is in another country. They always talk about it, but at the same time, nothing. Like, this is a ridiculous scenario, as you said, right?
Hey, Ivan, good to see you. We normally hear from you after the show ends.
The next week we're going to talk about the Stellantis plant in Brampton got, I think, $3.6 billion combined with Windsor and Brampton plant. They're going to get $3.6 billion. I think it's divided between the company, federal and provincial money to produce or change over their lines into EV, electric charged vehicles. I guess so that's a wave.
So we're keeping our auto plant, which is basically what, because there was some big concerns. I think whatever line they're producing now was scheduled to finish next year. So now there's a plant. What I found interesting about this announcement was that it was in Windsor. Normally with these kinds of large announcements, they'll do a tour across wherever and have the announcement as many times as they can. They did not come to Brampton because I don't think Justin Trudeau wanted to stand beside his potential competitor in a national election talking about this.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. Patrick Brown, the mayor of Brampton, he's also running for the Conservative leadership. And then you have Doug Ford, who hates Patrick, apparently, because every time, they come to, Patrick is somehow not invited or not there. And it's a pattern. It's like people that live in Brampton know about this, right? Yeah. And it's happened from
the hospital announcements and the hospital, the school, like they don't invite the guy. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny. It would have been funny to see. But yeah, we'll cover that next week. We'll talk about it. We'll see if we can get one of our local MPs to actually come on, whether it be Ruby Sahota, Camille Cara,
who's Brampton East. Menendez
Yeah,
Sidhu, I think.
Meninder is the other one. So we'll see if we can get one of them to come on and talk about the situation, because I think most of the money is coming from, in regards to government, from the federal. The company is actually kicking in the most, which, obviously they should be because they own the company and they're going to get it. But it saves 3,000 jobs in Brampton. I mean, at one time it used to be, I think it was 30,000 people used to be employed in that Brampton plant. So we're down to 3. So it's good. We don't lose 3,000 jobs, which that would have been a big hit. So we'll talk about that next week. We'll talk about EVs and we'll talk about electric bikes as well, because they seem to be, more people are buying bikes than they are cars.
Electric bikes, yeah. I think by volume, there's more electric bikes being sold. And I think last summer I was looking, not even an electric bike, just a regular bike for my daughter, and it was just so hard to find one. And we're not going to get whatever they have at the Canadian Tire, last minute, because that's just it's not going to last. But to get a good quality bike, to me it's an investment. I've had my bike since I graduated university. So that's a long time ago. It's 1992. It's still in the garage, and I still ride that bike.
Yeah, but it's not an EV bike. It's not an electric bike.
No, but I'm saying, I think it's an investment, and that investment, the only thing you'll have to change on that is probably the battery every,
You do have to change. Well, you have the battery and the brakes and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that next week, because there's a whole bunch of different bike manufacturers out there now. Some are coming.
And if you have an EV bike or know somebody that has an EV bike, let us know. We'd love to hear their opinion about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't mentioned Peel Region Police are starting Erase, which I forget what that stands for, but there's 2 programs, Erase and another one. Basically, if you're speeding, or if
road
racing, or if you're driving with like loud mufflers and stuff, they're coming after you. It's a summer-long program.
It's springtime in Brampton. Like, the first time you open your window and you're lying in sleep in bed, and what's the first thing you hear around 12, 1 o'clock in the morning?
Gas-powered leaf blowers?
Well, maybe around your neighborhood, but around mine, because I'm close to Beauvert and Bramley Road and stuff, I hear motorcycles, cars zipping by, right? So it seems the springtime in Brampton is designated by all sorts of loud mufflers and fast cars.
Well, maybe the high gas prices will change that. We'll have the electric cars zooming by. You won't hear them.
I love how people complaining of driving the Ford F-50s or 250s or whatever to go to the grocery store or Costco, or complaining about the price of gas. You buy a big car, you're going to have to deal with it. You know what? Trade down if you want, or go to like Kevin Montgomery, go right to the bike.
Oh, look who's commenting. Is she commenting from Ireland?
Oh, Nikki's finally back. They kicked. I'm surprised that they actually let her into the country, but I'm surprised they didn't kick her out quicker than they did.
Hopefully she didn't bring back COVID with her.
Yeah, she was over there, I think all the posts, all the pictures that she posted, it's funny. They were all from pubs. I don't know. I think there's a problem there, Nikki.
All right, Don.
Anyway, we're going to, like I said, right off the top, we're going to, if you want to read that article about the Integrity Commissioner, go to BramptonFocus.ca. The article is there. It's a damning report.
I put a link down below on Facebook, so you'll see it on Facebook, on Twitter. I'll try to put it on.
Yeah, and we'll be making sure that is posted on our Facebook page and Twitter page as well, because that's a lot of serious allegations and complaints in there. So we're going to be following that. We haven't forgotten about the Friends of Beauvert House, that $1 million barn. We're still going to be watching that. I sent 2 emails, actually 3 emails now, to the interim CAO. I'm still waiting back to hear from that. So accountability and transparency. Apparently at City Hall, that's a problem. So we will see you next Tuesday at the same time, and thanks for joining us.
One more thing, Don.
Okay.
So on Monday, that was the first day for people to start running. So a number of people have already put their names in, not too many. Some of them are a little bit, well, I'm not going to comment, but.
Well, put it this way.
Look at the people running.
Yeah.
One of them, I'm not even going to mention the person's name.
Well, you're going to have a lot of, sketchy characters put their names in, number one. Number two, we will be covering a little bit of the municipal and the provincial election, but we're only going to be covering candidates that we want to cover, right? We are not deemed a third-party advertiser and anything else, and we're not supporting, but we're going to cover the candidates that we want to cover, right?
Who do we want to cover?
Well, there's a couple of candidates. You'll find out when it comes time. But, other candidates that basically that we don't want to cover, we're not covering them, right? So good luck, right?
Okay, Don. See you next week. Bye, everybody.
All right. And thanks for joining us. Thanks, Ivan, Nikki, and Mike Dancy. What is he? I'm not a lawyer, but if canvassers approach my town while I'm water. Yeah, well, I don't think many people actually want to come to your house, Mike. The word is out, buddy.
I saw that he found his snow tires, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah, well, that's okay. A little bit late for that. It was the summer tires, not the snow tires.
Oh, sorry, snow tires. Yeah, I wonder if he's going to lose his winter tires as well.
Yes, and it does take a village to raise an idiot, right? And we have a few of them, and actually some of them are running, right?
Okay, bye, Don.
All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Faz.